Great, thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, my name's Ali and I work and live in Minehead, where we run the West Somerset Food Cupboard, which is a fairly new charity which has led from a long-term project. So I'll try and tell you a bit about our story and how we've used our community building, if that's okay. The location is at a church. The picture there is of a shed that we put up outside the church because we outgrew the space we had in the church, and I'll explain how that's worked. It came from a desire to use our community space to reduce waste and make affordable food accessible to more people. But the outcomes have been much wider and much broader than we ever anticipated. It all started with a church with a big hall and a small cupboard, and a big heart. So it's not letting me move on the slide. Did anyone else have this trouble? Yes, there's a few nods. Any suggestions? I'm just trying to click on a slide, but it...
I found just scrolling with the mouse moved it where just clicking on didn't.
Oh, this could be an issue.
You could.
I've just gone
There
on
we go.
to... Can I go back? No, let's go all the way through. Right, I'm going to have to try again. So sorry, everybody. Bear with.
All right, don't worry.
It was all going so well. No, it's not coming, is it?
Oh, can you go back to the beginning of it?
Trying, yeah, it doesn't seem to be letting me. I'm just going to minimize that and see what the problem is. Okay. One more try. If not, I'll just talk without the slides, but I'll give it one more go. Yay, that's looking more hopeful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Well, here we go. So the project started in 2007, a long time ago, with a very generous church community with a small group of church-based volunteers, mostly elderly. What they decided to do was set up a small project where members of the congregation would bring tins and packets of non-perishable food to the church on a Sunday morning, and it was shared out amongst people in the parish who needed it most at that time. It was all donated food, and it was all non-perishable food. Packed in cupboards like the one pictured there, all carefully dated for stock control so that nothing went out of date. So those cupboards were rotated all the time. And the picture there just shows some of our Duke of Edinburgh students that have come along and helped us with that, which has been a nice addition to the team, having some youngsters helping out. But it developed. So, of course, things don't stay still for very long, do they? And the need grew. And in fact, the pandemic brought lots of change, of course. It brought an increase in donations, but a decrease in the number of volunteers available. Most of the volunteers at the time were elderly and weren't able to continue with what they were doing. So at the start of 2021, we looked at what we were doing, how we were doing it, what others were doing in the community, and what others were doing across the country to see what models of good practice there were out there. And we considered a few new ways forward. A few bright ideas came out of that. Firstly, the church couldn't manage it anymore just because of the number of folk in the congregation and the age group of them. And so it was decided that a new charity needed to be established to carry on the work that the church had started. So we established that charity about 20 months ago now. And those of you who've done that process of setting up a new charity will know what that's like, writing the constitution and getting it agreed with the Charity Commission. And then, well, firstly, getting a team of trustees and financial systems in place and new policies, new procedures, new everything. So that was quite a big project to get that to happen, but we already had the work ongoing. So it wasn't a case of starting the work, it was a case of starting the charity to continue the work. Then we decided we needed to establish a food forum in the area so that we could join the dots between what other organisations were doing to support people with food difficulties, make sure we filled any gaps and avoided any duplication and any waste of resources. So the food forum meets regularly now as well. Then we wanted to improve the access to emergency food parcels. And that started with the need to grow the team. So 3 years ago, there were 4 of us, and there's now 54 of us on the team. So it's quite a big period of growth. And again, those of you who are managing volunteers will know what's involved in that. We were involved very much in training that team to make sure everyone was acting safely for themselves and for the people that we were supporting and for the community space that we were using as well. Improving our systems and improving how we get information about what we do out into the community through a range of routes so that it's accessible to everybody. And then the 4th thing was to establish a surplus food pantry, which is the main reason for talking to you this evening, the way the local pantry can operate from a community building like a church hall. And we set that up in partnership with Fair Share South West and with Somerset Council initially. And pictured there are some of our lovely volunteers with the Christmas bags. We make up Christmas bags every Christmas, full of lovely treats to help take the pressure off household budgets in this expensive time of year. And you can see some of the pictures of the donations that come in. So the food parcel provision needed to develop and needed to work better. And there's a few images there of some of the donations that have come in. The picture of the volunteers with a table full of food in front of them is from a chap who was running a pop-up shop at festivals. And at the end of his season, he brings us all his remaining stock, which is a nice little addition to the store cupboard. All the food in the emergency food parcels is donated, and we've got multiple collection points all around the community, as well as a donation station right outside the church, which is 2 bright red sort of recycling boxes that are for collecting food, not waste. And we have teams of volunteers on a rota, collecting the food donations, dating every single item of food, sorting it into the now many large built-in cupboards that the church have allowed us to build, and packing the food parcels. And you can see 2 types there. The green bags are for a family. They're a standard family food bag, and they'll feed a family of 4 for about 3 days. And there's about £30 worth of donated food in there. And then we have 2 different types of snack pack. They're really just for a single person for a day or 2. One is for people who do have cooking facilities, and one is for people who don't have cooking facilities. So that if a homeless person has nowhere, not even access to a microwave or anything, we can give them a snack pack of stuff that they can eat there and then. It contains a cup and a spoon and a fork, and we've got lots of local cafes who will provide hot water. So there's things in there that can just be made with hot water. So those are the types of food parcel that we make up. What's different about the way the food gets to people who need it in our model is that it's distributed almost all by partner organisations in our community. These include Citizens Advice West Somerset, the Job Centre, social workers, health workers, village agents, the Hope Centre, homeless charity. We've got about 25 local organisations that we work with. And they collect food parcels from us as part of their package of specialist support for their clients. They use a keypad code to gain access to our community building. So we entrust a lot of people with that keypad code. We change it regularly for security, and they let themselves in. And that means that there's access to food 24/7. So we do it that way rather than having individuals who are in need of food coming to us, for 4 main reasons. 1, because it makes a really meaningful difference to their life. It means we're not just giving repeated handouts of free food that leave people stuck in food poverty. Instead, they get support relevant to their need at the same time as getting food. So it's a hand up instead of a handout. Also for safety, the church premises is often open, or there's one volunteer on the premises, for example, arranging flowers for the Sunday service. It's not safe for any member of the public to just show up in need asking for food if there's just one person on the premises. So from a lone working point of view in our community building, we're cautious that we don't advertise it as a place where people could just come and get food. Food is taken to them instead. The other reason, or another reason for operating this way, is dignity and confidentiality. When support organisations collect the food parcels to take to their client, we don't need to know the client's details, and the client gets to deal with a person that they're already familiar with. And the final reason is availability. It means that food parcels are available 24/7, 365 days a year. It happens often, for example, that a PCSO might be in Minehead late at night on a Saturday night and discover somebody in difficulty, and that PCSO can come and let themselves into the church premises using the keypad code and get a parcel that we've already prepared and take it straight to that person. They don't have to wait for office hours or wait till Monday morning. So this model is what makes it a food cupboard as opposed to a food bank. No individual needing emergency food is encouraged to come and get it because we want them to get a more holistic provision than that. But if partner organisations can't deliver, for example, at weekends or evenings, or if it's really urgent, or if they're very remote, living in farm buildings, diversification now seems to mean not new crops, but using your farm buildings to house people, then it might not be that we can get an agency to take that food to them. So in those cases, we do have a team of volunteers who will deliver, but we don't advertise this publicly for obvious reasons. We can quickly become used as a free Ocado service if we're not careful. Volunteers do claim expenses for doing that delivery work, but they have to evidence that they have informed their car insurance company that they're covered for doing that. This emergency food parcel provision is entirely funded and supplied by donations and fundraising. Our volunteers come from all walks of life, and we try and offer work experience or volunteering experience to as many different types of people as we can. So as well as the Duke of Edinburgh students that come in and do some time with us, we also have students from the Foxes Hotel. I don't know if everybody's aware of that, but Minehead is very lucky to have a fantastic hotel which trains young adults with learning difficulties to learn hospitality skills and life skills. And so we have students from Foxes who come and participate as well, so we could be part of their learning. And my top tip for making all of that work well is good communication, both internal and external. So we're very dependent on WhatsApp groups amongst the team. Who could do a delivery today, please? Who could go and pick up something from the freezer that Lidl are clearing out, please? Lots of messages go around about picking up and dropping off food. And also we run a monthly e-newsletter, and that's been really helpful, getting news out about what food items we're short of, or how people can access food if they're struggling. So the newsletter's been been quite a big deal. At the bottom left of the screen is some of our volunteers doing some of the training courses that we put on, which are quite frequent to make sure everybody's up to speed with everything. And then the pantry. So the pantry for us was a really big step, and in some ways a big gamble, but it's worked so far. We already had 3 of the 4 elements that are listed there in some form. The community group was previously the church congregation and had become the charity volunteers, trustees, and the ever-growing operational team. The community space was the church building, though it couldn't accommodate the pantry as well as the emergency food parcel provision. So we were permitted to use a path and a neglected garden area at the side of the church, apply for the relevant permissions, lay the tarmac and build some sheds. A big one to act as a pop-up shop and a small one as a store. The team of volunteers rapidly grew, and for the pantry we were required to provide food hygiene level 2 training, food allergen training, first aid, health and safety and manual handling training that we were already doing as well. We had to register with environmental health, and following all the guidance, we're able to display our 5-star food hygiene rating with pride. The food supply initially just came from a membership with Fair Share South West. This costs us £3,300 per year, and in return we receive a weekly chiller van delivery of 160 kilos of mostly fresh surplus food that was otherwise headed for landfill. We've also fostered relationships with local shops, growers and producers, and now welcome a little stream of donors bringing their surplus produce every Tuesday morning around the same time as the Fair Share delivery, and usually stopping for a cuppa and a chat at the same time. So approximately 1 tonne of food is rescued from waste every month at the West Somerset Food Cupboard and diverted to people's dinner tables instead. We have a team of volunteers receiving all the fresh food donations on the Tuesday morning. It's slightly chaotic, but it works. We sort it, divide it into roughly 40 equal portions before quickly populating the shed fridges, freezer and shelves with what we've received. And then between 2 o'clock and 5:15, 40 member households come along and are served by 2 more shifts of volunteers who escort them through the shed to receive their food. The members pay £3.50 each, cash or card, and then they're taken around to choose as many of their allocated items as they want. They usually can have about 20 items for £3.50, usually worth up to £30. So it represents really good value for money for them, but they don't know what they're getting till they come. We provide a chiller bag and a tote bag, which they bring back each week, and their membership lasts 6 months, during which time we get to know them. We connect them with other local services. We give cooking demonstrations and tasters to try and inspire them. We've had visits from the credit union to talk about how to save, visits from the Digital Connection Cafe to help people use their devices effectively. On that day, it was more about accessing the NHS app. Next week, we've got the roving COVID vaccination team joining us as well. So various different groups come along and provide additional information and support to our members. It's worked really well, but as a result, it's been very oversubscribed, and the waiting list currently stands at over 50 households, which is a headache for us. And we're looking at ways to expand the service. But access to more surplus food is the main challenge, as everyone is getting better at reducing waste, which is a good thing. The pantry is funded by donations, by fundraising events, and by membership fees. You can see in the left-hand picture 4 of our lovely volunteers filling up the fridge there and then, all with their very posh local pantry aprons on, celebrating our first birthday in the bottom picture, and little Peter pretending to hold up the pumpkin in the right-hand picture. So, I mean, how it helps? Well, waste reduction is the most measurable. And as I've said, at least a ton of food per month is saved. Then there's the difference it makes to household budgets. For their £3.50, if they're getting about £25 worth of food a week, then each household over 6 months is saving about £500. That's really significant for people, and it's understandable why it's oversubscribed. But it also facilitates unexpected community connections and new friendships for all of us involved. Pictured is Elena, who's a Ukrainian visitor. She was hosted by one of our volunteers, and she quickly became one of our volunteers alongside our volunteer, and translated all our materials for us into Ukrainian so that we could welcome other Ukrainian families. She was fantastic. She's moved on to London now, but for several months she supported us. It began with us supporting her, but not for long. The table soon turned. It results in new fresh foods being tried and new food preparation skills being learned through the cooking demonstrations that we do. And we've had lots of really encouraging feedback comments, and I'll read just a couple of them if that's okay. This one was actually about an emergency food parcel delivery, but it led her to join the pantry a little later on. She said, "Dear," to the lady who had referred her through Somerset Council, and the lady from the food cupboard, which was our volunteer, "I just want to thank you so much for what you brought to my house today. After struggling for so long, I had to hide away and asked the youngest son to help the lady with the bags because I felt so ashamed. Not only was there cereal, tea, sugar and tins of food, but a bar of chocolate, which made me cry. Such a treat, and I wasn't expecting that at all." I could hear my son talking with the lady who delivered it, and she was so bubbly and friendly. We didn't feel a bit like charity or made to feel ashamed in any way. Thank you so much for allowing us to keep our dignity. And another comment that came from a current pantry member was the response to the "Your 6 months is nearly up" letter. And it's from a single parent living with and caring for her adult son who has learning difficulties and physical disabilities. She said, "Can I start by saying coming to the pantry has risen the quality of our lives and diet. We're technically pescatarians, but the cost of fish is such that I now only manage the odd tin of tuna. So we're mainly vegetarian, and the quality amount of vegetables we've had has made a massive difference. we've been able to enjoy vegetables we've had to cut from our diets due to the price increases and size decrease of marrows, courgettes, beetroot and cauliflower. So thank you for giving us the chance. So the feedback has encouraged us and made us feel like, actually, yeah, it's quite a palaver on a Tuesday. We start at 7:30 in the morning and we finish at 6:30 in the evening. It's a long day, but it does make a difference and it does seem to be worthwhile for people. And I've just discreetly, not at all discreetly, slipped in that King's Award badge because we're very happy just last week, well, on the King's birthday on the 14th, to hear that the charity has not just been nominated for, but received the King's Award for Voluntary Service, because it's been recognised as working for people in our community. So that's been, we're feeling humbly proud of that. Just a little more about the pantries. We're just one of 9 pantries in Somerset, which form part of a network which is supported initially financially, but now just by connection by Somerset Council. And collectively, the pantry network was awarded the Fair Share Social Impact Heroes Award for Community and Sustainability, another endorsement that it is making a difference. And Action Against Hunger recently put together a short, it's just a 5-minute film. I wonder if it's worth trying to play here. If it doesn't work, we'll move on and I'll send the link to Kate. But if that's okay, we'll see if it works. Stop me if it doesn't.
The food pantry here serves 2 purposes. The first is repurposing food that otherwise would go to waste, but more importantly, it does it so as to help out people in the community who are struggling.
It's just making sure that I'm still able to provide my kids and my family a stable source of meal, basically, that's balanced as well.
We can't afford necessarily to get all the food that we want at the prices they are charging in the supermarkets.
And this place covers a lot of the essentials, which is great.
I think if we didn't have this, we would be solely relying on food bank.
So it's a bit of a double whammy. We're stopping food waste and stopping people being hungry.
People need local pantries for a range of reasons. Sometimes it's about serious hardship and they really need some support, otherwise they literally can't be putting food on the tables of their families. Sometimes it's that life events have come along and knocked them off their feet for a short while and they just need a bit of temporary support. Sometimes it's about community connection, wanting to be part of a community and learn. So we offer them opportunities to learn what to do with the ingredients that we provide, teach them how to cook them, provide them with recipes and other things.
There's no stigma, no judging. We're just here to help get you back to where we know you can be.
Because more and more people are struggling. Obviously, all the prices have gone up. Most people want to pay their bills first. So the thing that they lack is good, solid food. They make do, and they shouldn't have to in this day and age.
Normally it is one frozen item, you get bread, fresh vegetables, fresh meats, fresh juices, and then there's a surprise table, which is kind of odds and ends, and you get to pick one thing off of that as well as personal products as well.
The thing for me is the summer. I can't get over really the amount of fresh fruit, vegetables we had was phenomenal. All different varieties, and it was fantastic because you could make so many different things with it.
We've already got 9 pantries. We've got a few more going through the stages of setting up, and we'd like to see pantries across the whole of Somerset. So that's where we're going.
Started off with just a basic pantry. People come in, pick up the food and go. But it's developed more into a much more social and inclusive thing now.
The members obviously appreciate everything that's done, but we've become like a family.
We have people that now come and meet a little bit earlier because they didn't know that that person lived 2 or 3 doors down from them, and now they've made really good friendships. It is just bringing the community back together.
It gets people to come together. We meet up. You can make friends. You can meet your friends here, have a laugh, a bit of fun, and just be good for the environment.
you come in and you're given a cup of tea and a biscuit if you want one, and you have a chance to kind of have a conversation with people before you get taken round to do a shop.
We love contributing to this, and we have a real sense of community amongst ourselves, as do the trustees, as do the donors, as do the recipients. We really feel that we're all in this together.
There's a lot of training that's available to individuals who want to improve their knowledge and skills, such as the food safety, but also how to cook particular types of food. And so our role is to make that information available, make sure we get that out to the pantries and they can share it with their volunteers and members.
I don't see this ending anytime soon. I think we have to find a way of developing this, expanding it and growing it in our communities.
Some of them are in fairly tricky situations, and we're able to help and mitigate that, and that's just absolutely well worth it.
This gives us a bit of relief in our weekly budget, to be honest.
To not have to worry where food is going to come from or where I'm going to have to find money to get food, it is phenomenal.
Seeing somebody come through the door that looks a little bit sad, looks a little bit lost, and then them leaving with a smile and a positive, you're like, yeah, I did that. And that's the best bit, to be fair.
And you know it's genuinely making a difference, and that's why we do it.
I hope that gives them a taster of how it can work in all different types of community buildings. My contact details are there, and if anyone would like to come and visit us or find out more, I'd be really happy